It's common knowledge that Louis Vuitton stands for elegance and wealth. But did you also know that the brand was subject to a hostile takeover that has since eliminated all direct descendants of the original brand owner from the company? Yeah, large companies acquire other businesses all the time, but this was nothing short of a betrayal. It would suffice to say that Louis Vuitton was born of passion and hard work, a typical grace-to-grace story that you will no doubt find motivating in many ways. While that is true for the old brand, the present-day Louis Vuitton is a product of treachery. Now that's sad, isn't it? So, how did this happen? Who founded the great company, and at what point was it snatched? It's going to be a long ride. Why don't we get started? Today's video is sponsored by Sky is the Limit. Chapter 1. The Genesis. If you are rich to a certain extent and have never worn or used a Louis Vuitton product before, chances are you are not as wealthy as you might like to think. Sorry, but facts don't lie. The reason is simple. Of all the luxurious brands to have been established, Louis Vuitton happens to be in a class of its own. Now, while this brand is a symbol of status, the founder started with many odds stacked against him. Louis Vuitton was a French man. He was born in 1821 in a small town called Angers in eastern France. His father was a miller and farmer, while his mother, Corinne, made hats to support the meager income of the family. Louis, while growing up in Angers, never knew what electricity or running water looked like. He never attended any school. This could be due to the indigent state of his family, or the distance from his home to the nearest school, which was at least 6 miles away. But hey, don't feel bad for Louis, because what he lacked in formal education, he made up for with his sharp-witted mind. There is a saying that whatever you go through in life could be better or worse. It was the latter for Louis. Around his 10th birthday, Corinne died. Now motherless, life became tougher for the young lad. As if life was not hard enough, his father soon took another wife, who wasted no time in confirming the popular tales about stepmothers. Needless to say, she made life more unbearable than it needed to be for the young chap. In 1834, at the age of 13, Louis fled from home to escape his horrible stepmother, and that was when his journey to Paris began. For a young man with no money and no particular destination in mind, it was one hell of a journey. As Louis traveled the dirt path, he would often go into the villages he came across to do menial jobs to eat and keep hunger at bay. Sometimes, he slept in forests under extreme weather conditions, but this never stopped him. He knew his journey was a long one, and that every step in that direction, no matter how slow, would eventually add up and get him where he needed to be. On his way to Paris, he acquired different skills, and it was no surprise that he soon learned how to use fabric, metal, and wood. After 2 years, he arrived in Paris with a bag full of ambition and a strong drive to succeed. In truth, all he had on him was the cloth on his back, but that didn't matter because he soon got a job and things started looking up for him. Before we go to the next chapter, let me ask you this. Have you heard about Sky is the Limit? It's an online store where you can buy quality and super cool sneakers. You can check in the description section below for the link that will take you straight to their website. And while we are here, permit me to wish you happy shopping in advance. Having said that, let's continue with our story. Chapter 2. First Chance with Fortune. Louis, on getting to Paris, found a job at a company that specialized in making leather boxes. Here, not only was he introduced to the box-making business, but he got the opportunity to meet wealthy people and was soon exposed to their affluent lifestyle. Before long, he had acquired all the training he needed to make boxes on his own. He unlocked his ingenuity and employed so much dexterity that he became popular among his peers. In 1851, the Empress of France became a patron of Louis. The product was so delightful to the Empress that he commissioned Louis to be her personal box maker. With a royalty added to his clientele, his reputation soared. All of a sudden, everybody wanted him to make their boxes, and that was how his fortune began to change for good. In 1854, Louis married at the age of 33, but he never relented with his business. In that same year, he founded his company, which he named Louis Vuitton Malatier. His first shop was located at 4 Rue Neuve des Capucines in Paris, where he specialized mainly in luxury travel trunks and suitcases. As time went by, Louis noticed a vital flaw in the design of the boxes that were being made at the time. The top of the boxes were dome-shaped and could not be stacked upon one another. So he began his research, which eventually led him to the discovery of canvas. Compared to what was popular, the canvas was more durable, light, and water-resistant. With this material, he was able to design flat-shaped boxes that could be stacked. Just as he had anticipated, his customers loved it and couldn't get enough of it. Louis, being a smart businessman, knew that his competitor would soon start to copy his design, so to guard against this, he patented his flat-top box design in 1858. Within a short while, Louis Vuitton became a symbol of status among the rich and well-to-do. He made a catalog of many designs from which customers could choose their preference and have it delivered to their homes. Home delivery had not even become a thing, but it would appear that Louis could see the future. By 1859, Louis had amassed enough profit to expand, so he invested in 20 more employees to meet the myriad of orders that kept pouring in. Also at this time, traveling had evolved from more than being just a hobby that the rich enjoyed. People had started traveling by train and boat, so many people were in need of quality travel boxes. Chapter 3. Disaster Struck. In 1870, war broke out between France and Prussia. It was a terrible war that affected many people and their means of livelihood. Louis was not spared. He was forced to abandon his business and live in shelter homes. The war lasted a year, and by the time he went back to his business in 1871, everything was nothing but destroyed. Everything he owned was gone. Louis was knocked down, but he refused to stay down. Remember, the war had just ended, so it meant many vacant spaces were waiting to be filled. He saw this as an opportunity and went for it. With his savings, he was able to start over. He opened a shop in the elite part of Paris. The place was ideal for his kind of business. It was close to the Grand Hotel and railway station. With this, he was able to overcome the problem of proximity and accessibility. In 1872, Louis came up with the beige canvas with stripes. As expected, people loved it, but the downside of it was the problem he faced with counterfeits from competitors. Regardless, people continued to prefer and pay for authentic Louis Vuitton for another 20 years when Louis was actively involved in the business. In 1891, Louis died at the age of 70 years, and his son George took the helm of the Louis Vuitton empire. Under the management, the company became more popular, and as you can guess, their competitors doubled down on making imitations to partake in their growing market. George, in 1891, after a lot of brainstorming, brought out the LV monogram to distinguish their products from others. He also devised a kind of sophisticated lock that they added to their trunk designer to protect travelers' luggage from theft. In 1925, Coco Chanel, another luxury designer, asked Louis Vuitton to design a dome-shaped handbag for her. The bag came out really nicely, and in time, the bag was mass-produced. It was an instant success. From then on, Louis Vuitton started making small leather bags that turned around women's fashion at the time. The management changed hands in 1936 when Georges Vuitton passed away. The company naturally went to his son, Gaston Louis. Unfortunately, when he took the reins wasn't a good time. Just like the time of his grandfather, France was heading to war again. In a bid to save the company, Gaston was left with no option but to collaborate with the Nazis. However, this secret came to light in later years through an author called Stephanie Bouvechini. There was a backlash, but eventually, they were forgiven because the company did what it needed to at a crucial time. Chapter 4. Battle for Louis Vuitton. When Gaston Louis passed in 1970, the company passed on to his son-in-law, Henri Racamier, who revitalized the business with the many experiences he had garnered from working in several places. Under his management, the company morphed from a family-owned to a large corporation with many branches in important locations around the world. Also, the business started focusing more on retailing instead of just wholesaling to be closer to their customers and get direct feedback from them. Henri deserved some accolade because he sure knew his onions. In 1978, Henri started a massive expansion that reached Asian countries, including Japan. During this time, the company concentrated on modern high fashion. And within 6 years, the company grew from $20 million to $260 million in sales. In 1984, Henri made the company public, and 3 years later, in 1987, the company recorded its first $1 billion sale. After a while, Henri decided it was time to join forces with other companies to cover more ground. He chose Moet and Hennessy, a luxury liquor brand. With their agreement, their company became LVMH, which was an acronym for Louis Vuitton, Moet, and Hennessy. Before the merger, Henry had so many plans and dreams for the company, but sometimes things don't always go as planned. When they started working together, Henry soon realized he couldn't only get along with the president of Moet and Hennessy. In order to get out of the arrangement, he sought the help of Arnaud Bernard, a successful property developer. Unfortunately, the person he had banked on to help him went behind his back to purchase 43% of Louis Vuitton. When Henry found out, he was distraught. Never did he imagine such betrayal. It was a direct hit to the heart, cutting so deep like a knife. He filed a lawsuit against Arnaud to relinquish the shares he had bought, but the court saw no reason why he should do that. Arnaud emerged victorious. Henry was so angry with himself that he refused to partake in the business anymore. After the exit of Henry, Bernard Arnault was in charge of the business since he had the largest share. In time, he acquired all of LVMH, and that would be just one of the many companies that Bernard Arnault, popularly known as the Wolf in Cashmere, would take over. As of today, no direct descendant of Louis Vuitton works at the fashion company. Chapter 5. Louis Vuitton in the present day. Under the management of Bernard Arnault, LV has grown globally to become one of the most popular luxury companies known for its elegant designs. The company, more than the fashionable bags and boxes it started with, has now diversified into the production of ready-to-wear apparel and other accessories like belts, footwear, wristwatches, and even perfumes. Today, Louis Vuitton is a symbol of luxury among bigwigs, celebrities, and anyone who is not afraid to splurge on luxury. So now what do you think of Henry Racamier? Do you think he was hasty in giving up the company and should have fought more for it? And as for Bernard, was his move on Henry to take over Louis Vuitton a betrayal or just another day of business? Write your thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, don't hesitate to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss out on other videos like this when they drop. And finally, don't forget to go after your dreams like Louis Vuitton, because the sky is the limit.